We are able to take for ourselves only Formo-Images, which are characteristic to our perception system. There are such words in the song, "It's a great pity that people in everyday dark only hurt themselves." And what does the dark comes from? From ignorance, from the state of ignorance. And what does the word ignorance come from? From the expression to ignore something, meaning they ignore something more true, more reliable. They don't know this, and therefore they act on the base of the information they possess, which is less reliable, less true. The fact derives from it that those who use more high qualitative information appraise others' behavior as ignorance manifestation. All of this is subjective factors. Thus, at present, what is more true, more reliable to you is that variant of the Iissiidiology which exists and which you accept now as the most qualitative knowledge given nowadays to the humankind in the esoteric direction. But it actually serves as ignorant manifestation with respect to that more qualitative knowledge which my personal interpretations will give you in future.
Личностные интерпретации дадут вам впоследствии более качественные. Не могу разобраться с вопросом о
I can't understand the question about UV forms and UV copies in respect of the complementary system. This question, of course, doesn't relate to the 10th and 11th volumes, but I systematically rest on it. You repeatedly underline in the 11th volume that we represent UV copies mainly every second, every single moment. We represent creative realization of UV copies projection through former creators' configurations. Yes, and as I understand, this is usually a single UV copy. Does a single UV copy realize through us in every moment? There is no a single UV copy at all. There is no even a single UV conglomerate. You just forget about slagrentность all the time, about what is implied by holographness, multiplicity, multipolarization, fractality. You miss these things all the time.
фрактальность. Вот этот момент вы все время упускаете из виду и
I have tried to concentrate you on this in the 13th volume
вас на этом сосредоточить. Когда
when I described the energy plasma synthesis dynamics at all sublevels.
очень ценная информация,
This was very valuable information, and I have tried to expound it very comprehensively. But you confuse exactly the essence of slagrentность.
вот это вы и путаете. Поэтому издание
Therefore, you have such questions. What is formacopy and UV form? How many formacopies are realizing right now?
а сколько в данной
And you say that there is just one formacopy.
фармакопии говорите, что одна фармакопия. Ну вот тут ты уже задал, да? У меня возникает ощущение, что
I have the feeling that our experience in some moments belongs through us mostly to one UV copy. And another UV copy kind of subconsciously tries to offer us something or to connect its participation to the focus of close attention. I have the feeling that the complementary system has been enabled in this matter because in such moments painfully different creativity levels try to come into contact inside self-consciousness. For example, I'm sitting and reading the Iissiidiology. At the same time, my Angli-Melissa levels put me on edge. This is true not only for you. This is just such striking example which demonstrates that I am concentrated on this knowledge, but apart from that, the background activity manifests on much lower levels and on other spiral. How to explain it?
значит, ты начал о том, о скроллерной системе.
You have started, in essence, the question about the Scroller system. You asked about how formocopies and OVU forms have been manifested in the scroll-alert system. First, formocopies are swarm forms carriers. Swarm forms are different conceptions. Once it comes to people, to so-called humans, then something which has been differentiated in the moment of VEN unpackings out of subconsciousness WU information, out of VEN dynamics, this refers to just only specific part of Oleg system. This part has been structured by human forms, which belong to our LUVU form, to our NUVU formotypes. The dynamics of swarm forms of other protoforms has potentially always been realized through these dynamics. This has been realized through the frequency, one and the same frequency. So many human swarm forms of animal and vegetable protoforms can manifest in the same frequency. Space-time continuum consists of the multitude of the interacting and dynamically self-manifesting frequencies, wavelength. This frequency reveals itself through the dynamics of not just our conceptions about something. For example, I take this ball. In my conception, this is a ball. It appears to be a swarm form. The ball's color, in my conception, is represented by lilac tints, amethystine tints, white tints, and so on. At that, the information has been unpacked right now by my former creators. When I start to look at this ball with the aim to realize myself via examining it, meaning the information which I have taken refers only to specific spectrum of the given Lagrange energy information flow. I have labeled this specific spectrum as WU information, including only those things which are acceptable to our human perception. But on a par with us, this information, or rather some other Lagrange part of the same information, could be unpacked by other entities who have been manifested on the same frequency. These entities are able to look at this ball now or later in another time flow, which is not important, and they are able to model for themselves the dynamics of own realization with this information in the direction typical to them. I perceive this as something round, but they perceive this differently. This involves perception system, the eyesight in particular. Many don't see what, suppose, we see. For example, they can't differ colors, and that puts own features on their methods of realization with this information. Someone sees much more than what people see. They see some more subtle traces of this object manifestation dynamics in the surrounding space. When I switch to the broader perception diapason, which is called subtle plane, I move this ball and see these stops, See the rock's energetics, which is already not lilac, but emerald blue. I start to get deeper into these dynamics. Here it is, these dynamics. You see the ball only, and the dynamics is on its own. And at the same time, some part of this dynamics has come to your side because you have paid attention to it. What is this dynamics? This is also realization forms. Sphurum forms of mineral kingdom protoforms. As soon as you express a willingness to look at it, when I have started to explain, then this dynamics part, which you don't see, which is not related to this given object's molecular activity, starts to interact with you on the psychic level. And the initial ball-shaped dynamics of this ball starts to break apart on many different flows to this side, to that side. Who sits closer, they kind of interact with these dynamics to the higher degree. And quite tellingly, the dynamics has come from here to the definite parts of your own system, which we call the aura. Some forms initially possess the perception systems, which is able to observe these dynamics. That is, they don't rearrange as I do. I have rearranged myself again, and now I see the solid ball again, its molecular base. Therefore, such forms possess also different reactions, related to different objects including living creatures. The thing which you understand as just a body doesn't look for them like localized in space dynamics. It is diffuse dynamics for them, which doesn't belong to some definite space spot, but which is free in its own displacement and quite strongly interrelated with them. Meaning, they see also their realization dynamics, which is sensuous, mental. So, these details have been overlaid on one and the same information. Now, we talk only about that fact that the ball lies on the table. It is like this. But it should be noted how much from the huge amount of other information has been generated in the way of Formo-Images of this ball. We are able to take for ourselves only those Formo-Images which are typical to our perception system and our thinking, our psychics. Everything I talked about is Lagrange part of the Scrollert system dynamics. The term Lagrange means the part of the dynamics which potentially possesses all possible variants of energy-information interactions regardless of the levels on which you interact at the moment with the given object and regardless of what you are. Like self-consciousness level, you can use to interact with this information, like part of its Lagrangeness this information exposes to you. Once I want to interact with this ball on the second synthesized level of the Iissiidiology and Orlactor Iissiidiology forma creators. Therefore, I will take the wrong information, which I observe. The ball is of lilac color. Here I can see chariot, jade, amethyst, quartz tints. There, I can see inclusions of other materials tints, which won't be of interest to me.
Это меня не будет интересовать. Меня будет интересовать, а что же
I will be interested in the next thing. What is the realization, just of the given protoforms forma creators through the given molecular form?
данную молекулярную форму. То есть, что
Meaning, what is going on in the collective consciousness of that protoform, which realizes through this given object?
вот той протоформы, которая реализуется через данный объект. То есть,
Do you see what I'm saying? We take from all information of the surrounding world only what best corresponds at the moment to our own psychic state, to our skills.
в данный момент в наибольшей степени соответствует нашему собственному психическому состоянию.
Skills, again, depend on the psychic state.
Зависит от психического состояния. Бывает так, что вы
Sometimes you are talking to someone sitting at the table, say on the street, drinking coffee.
пьете кофе, и
And when you are busy with the conversation, you don't pay attention to the birds, which are chirping and singing nearby.
которые рядышком там щебечут, поют, не на
You don't pay attention to the sun, which is warming you with tender rays, playing with spots on the nearby building's windows, reflecting in your cup of coffee.
отражаясь в чашечке вашего кофе. Это вас не интересует.
Everything this is not interesting to you, and you don't pay attention to it.
Вы сосредоточены,
Although everything this is information, you have been concentrated on something else. Your other levels are active. To notice all these manifestations around you, you should switch from one levels of your brain forma creators, which are incapable of perceiving this, to the levels of other forma creators. They will suddenly give ability to you to notice things imperceptible to other forma creators.